past, where truth moves faster than a Holstein calf. No waiting on some pretty page. We're charting new ground in the digital age. From genomic codes to roll-out facts, we cut through the noise, no holding back. Not your daddy's dairy news tonight. We're sparking debates with every insight. The ring's not where the real fight's at. It's in the data, in the channel chat. From pasture to processor to your morning cup, we're raising the stakes. Try and get ahead of herd. Yeah! Where the future's more than just a word. Ahead of herd. Come on! The bullvine's calling, let your voice be heard.
Welcome to the Bullvine Podcast, the dairy industry's most provocative and influential voice. I'm your host, bringing you the bold insights and cutting-edge strategies that are reshaping modern dairy farming. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that's challenging everything you think you know about dairy profitability. While most operators are stuck fighting for pennies per hundredweight in volatile commodity markets, America's smartest dairy farmers quietly generated over $1.26 billion in agritourism revenue last year. This episode explores how your dairy operation, yes, even your 377 cow farm, could be transformed into a six-figure agritourism destination. We'll examine the technology investments that actually enable visitor experiences, the regional strategies that work, and the sobering realities you need to understand before taking the plunge. Whether you're running robotic milking systems or traditional parlors, whether you're in Wisconsin or California, this analysis will challenge your assumptions about diversification and show you exactly how patriotic displays and farm tours can become your most profitable investment. Let's get started.
Welcome, everyone, to the deep dive. We're here to really cut through the noise and get straight to the insights that matter for your dairy operation.
Absolutely.
We know what keeps you up at night. I mean, it's that constant grind, right?
Sure.
Managing feed efficiency, battling those labor shortages, and, of course, facing those unpredictable, often pretty brutal milk prices.
Yeah, it's relentless.
Just look at last month, April 2025, the all-milk price, it dipped to $21 per hundredweight. That's a full dollar down from March's $22.
Ooh, yeah.
That kind of thing. It's a real pressure cooker, isn't it? It feels a lot like, trying to manage a lactation curve where maybe your peak milk hits just a bit too early, drops too fast, and you're left scrambling for every last pound.
It truly is a constant challenge. But, while those daily metrics are absolutely critical for any dairy farmer, there is actually some genuinely good news kind of bubbling up for dairy farm businesses overall.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, the USDA is actually forecasting an average net cash farm income of, get this, $743,900 for 2025.
Wow, $743,900.
Yeah. And that's a substantial jump, 25% up from 2024.
25%, okay.
So that improved financial foundation, it makes this moment, like right now, a really ideal time to think about investing in diversification strategies that, truly build on that financial strength rather than just sort of maintaining the status quo.
Okay, that's a powerful shift in perspective.
Yeah.
And it brings us, I think, directly to the potential game changer we're exploring today. We've been doing a real deep dive into some recent analysis from the Bullvine, and it lays out a pretty clear path for transforming your dairy operation into a thriving agritourism destination.
That's the focus.
And we're talking potentially unlocking like over $100,000 in additional revenue, especially, and this is key, by leveraging moments like the upcoming July 4th season.
It's definitely more than just potential, though. It's really a proven model when you look at the data.
Right.
What's truly remarkable, and our analysis at the Bullvine consistently shows this, is that while, many typical 377 cow dairy operators stay really focused, maybe singularly focused on traditional commodity markets.
Which is understandable.
It is, but smart operators across the U.S., they collectively captured an astonishing $1.26 billion in agritourism revenue.
$1.26 billion.
Billion, with a B. Think about that figure for just a moment. This isn't just some, nice-to-have side hustle or a little hobby farm venture.
No way.
This is a powerful, proven strategy. It helps insulate your farm from that market volatility we were just talking about, and it builds real community connections that directly boost your bottom line. It creates, a more robust multi-stream business.
$1.26 billion. Okay, that is definitely not small potatoes by any stretch.
Not at all.
So our mission today, it's pretty clear. We're going to synthesize the most important insights we've gathered from the Bullvine article to help you, our listener, understand exactly how your operation can tap into this, frankly, incredibly lucrative market.
And we'll keep the language clear, direct, for dairy farmers, for industry professionals.
Exactly. We're here to give you the playbook, not just, a summary of what might be possible. Let's really unpack this.
Let's do it.
So let's jump right in. Let's tackle what our research with the Bullvine article identifies as the conventional wisdom that's killing your profits.
Okay.
This is really about a dangerous, sort of outdated mindset. The one that views agritourism as merely a nice-to-have, a side business.
Right. Not essential.
Not essential, rather than seeing it as an essential, almost, I'd say, existential diversification strategy for financial survival in today's market.
And it's a relic, really. It comes from decades where the primary focus, almost the exclusive focus, was just on production efficiency.
Maximize milk per cow.
That's absolutely right. The traditional approach, historically, centered on maximizing milk per cow, relentlessly minimizing cost per hundredweight, and then pretty much leaving the marketing and sales entirely to the processors.
You just ship it out.
Exactly. But this singular commodity-focused thinking, it leaves your operation incredibly vulnerable. Vulnerable to market forces that are just completely beyond your control.
Yeah.
It's a high-stakes game, really, when your entire revenue stream hinges on these abstract factors like, global supply and demand or international trade policies that you, as an individual producer, have basically zero influence over.
And the numbers we've seen, they really drive this point home, don't they?
They do.
Net farm income, it's forecast at $180.1 billion for 2025. Sounds pretty good on the surface.
Sounds big.
But here's the stark reality the Bullvine article points out. A massive 29.5% of that increase in income. It's driven primarily by a $33.1 billion surge in government disaster payments.
Right. Not market strength.
Exactly. It's not coming from improved market fundamentals or even your own operational efficiency gains. The question is, does relying on disaster relief to stay profitable, does that truly sound like a viable long-term strategy for a dairy operation? Or is it just, patching holes in a sinking ship?
Well, it's absolutely unsustainable, and it highlights exactly why this production-only mindset is so dangerous.
Yeah.
When your profitability hinges on external relief, you've essentially, outsourced your financial control. And that's just a precarious place to be long-term.
Totally.
The evidence against this commodity-only thinking, it's truly overwhelming when you dig into it. There's peer-reviewed research, published in Sustainability, that directly shows positive associations between agritourism and increased profitability.
Okay, so actual studies back this up.
Yes. And these positive links, they're tied to crucial factors like operator experience, the scale of the farm, whether you offer on-farm product sales, and the types of events and entertainment you provide.
Right.
Yet, despite this evidence, so many dairy operations still cling to this false belief that real farmers only focus on production.
And that's precisely where the trap lies. I mean, this mindset completely ignores a fundamental economic reality that successful businesses across every single industry understand.
Which is,
You need to create multiple diversified revenue streams.
it's a business.
It's 101, right? You need to build brand equity that commands premium pricing instead of just being another nameless, faceless commodity producer in the bulk tank.
Yeah, get out of the commodity mindset.
Exactly. It's about leveraging what you already have, your land, your animals, your story, your existing infrastructure, but in new, exciting, and importantly, profitable ways. It's about transforming that commodity into a valued experience people will pay more for.
Makes sense.
Okay, now, before anyone rushes out to, paint their hay bales red, white, and blue and throw open the farm gates.
Hold on a second.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have to address the elephant in the barn, as the Bullvine analysis aptly puts it.
Right.
Agritourism is not a guaranteed path to profit. It just isn't. And understanding why some ventures struggle or even fail is absolutely crucial for realistic planning and ultimately for your success.
Yeah, this isn't about sugarcoating the risks. It's about being prepared, being proactive.
So what are the big risks?
Well, it's a critical point, and probably the most sobering reminder of these risks comes from that 2016 incident at a Connecticut goat dairy farm.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Not good.
No, it was devastating. It unfortunately led to the state's largest zoonotic E. coli outbreak. What happened was, during kidding season, the farm was welcoming around 500 visitors per day on weekends.
500 a day. Wow.
Yeah, and the outcome was catastrophic. 51 laboratory-confirmed cases of STEC 0157 infection.
51 people.
And of those, a staggering 22% were hospitalized, and 6% developed hemolytic uremic syndrome, which is a severe, potentially life-threatening complication, especially for kids.
Oh my goodness. The consequences must have been
Immense.
swift and, frankly, total.
Yeah.
The farm was closed by public health order. They faced immense potential lawsuits and suffered permanent, just irreparable harm to its community standing.
Unrecoverable, probably.
Likely. And what's particularly chilling when you look at the case control analysis from the CDC and others is that children who simply sat on hay bales in the dough barn had 4.55 times higher odds of infection just from sitting on a hay bale.
Yeah, that detail really drives home how seemingly innocent activities can just quickly escalate into monumental liability nightmares if they're not managed with an absolutely ironclad focus on safety and biosecurity.
So what went wrong? What were the core sort of foundational missteps that led to such a widespread problem there?
Well, the investigation found their failures were pretty foundational. A stark lack of proper hand washing stations, with soap and running water for visitors.
Basic stuff.
Very basic, very limited hand sanitizer availability in critical areas, and just unrestricted visitor access to potentially contaminated environments.
So people wandering everywhere.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Beyond that, there was inadequate separation between the active production areas and the visitor zones. That was compounded by poor waste management and bedding protocols.
Okay.
These weren't, minor oversights. They were critical breakdowns in basic public health and biosecurity measures that every single operation considering agritourism absolutely must meticulously address beforehand.
Yeah, you can't mess around with public health.
No way.
And, okay, beyond the direct safety risks, which are obviously huge, agricultural economists have raised this other long-standing concern. Does agritourism truly represent the optimal use of farm resources?
The opportunity cost question.
Exactly. It's an opportunity cost reality check. The fundamental worry is that every single hour you or your staff spend managing visitors, explaining things, setting up, that's an hour not spent optimizing your core production efficiency or marketing your milk or maybe developing other potentially more profitable value-added enterprises like cheese or yogurts. Is this a legitimate concern farmers should really pause and think about?
Oh, it's absolutely a legitimate concern. It requires careful consideration. There's research from, I think it was the University of Economics, that supports this. It demonstrates that successful agritourism often requires pretty substantial investment in non-agricultural infrastructure and skills.
Like what?
Things like retail spaces, maybe paved parking, dedicated guest services training for staff. This can potentially divert precious resources, time, money, focus away from your core competencies, where your farm already has established competitive advantages.
Right, what you're already good at.
Exactly. It's a trade-off that needs careful analytical consideration because it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all solution.
And the research, the Bovine article, cites some sobering statistics on agritourism performance correlation too, right?
It does. It shows a strong positive correlation with factors like the length of time an operation has been in the agritourism business, the number of employees specifically dedicated to the venture.
Dedicated staff again.
Yeah, and crucially, the availability of comprehensive business and marketing plans.
Okay, so planning matters.
Yeah.
A lot.
Hugely. But what's perhaps even more interesting or telling is that factors like total farm acreage or just offering educational programs in isolation or even getting external financial support like grants, those did not show a significant relationship to performance.
So just being big or getting a grant doesn't guarantee success.
Not at all. This really underscores the point that merely opening your gates or, offering a few educational talks isn't enough to guarantee success.
Right.
The research also highlighted a pretty high failure rate for operations that lacked proper planning, adequate staffing, and, importantly, comprehensive insurance.
That Connecticut example comes back again.
It does. Ventures without those foundations often struggle and fail within just 2 to 3 years. This isn't a hobby you can just dabble in on the side. It demands a professional, strategic approach to management and especially to risk mitigation.
Okay, so before investing a single dollar or really even a single hour into setting up for agritourism.
Before painting those bales.
Right. Before painting the bales, our analysis, the Bovine piece, strongly advises the absolute importance of an honest self-assessment.
Critical first step.
This isn't just, good business practice. It's your personal readiness checklist against those critical success factors we just talked about. You need to know if you're truly agritourism ready for the long haul.
It's a non-negotiable step.
Yeah.
And the framework in the article lays out these key assessment categories, each with a critical score threshold you really need to meet or exceed.
Okay, walk us through them.
All right, first up is location advantage. You need a score of 7 or higher here. That basically means your operation is comfortably within, say, 50 miles of a population center greater than 50,000 people.
50 miles, 50,000 people. Why does that matter so much?
Because without convenient access, it's just incredibly difficult for visitors to make your farm a regular destination. You need that pool of potential visitors reasonably close by. Makes sense.
Yeah, pure logistics. Okay, what's next?
Then there's infrastructure safety. And as we discussed with that sobering Connecticut example, this is absolutely paramount. You need a score of 8 or higher here.
8 plus. And what does that cover?
It encompasses things like readily available, clean restrooms, clear and safe visitor pathways, no tripping hazards, adequate parking that's easy to navigate, and absolutely critically, proper hand washing stations with soap and running water, not just hand sanitizer.
Soap and running water. Crucial.
Crucial. You cannot, under any circumstances, afford to cut corners here. Safety is the absolute foundation of trust with the public.
Got it. Next.
Next is liability coverage. For this one, you need a perfect score.
A 10. A perfect 10. No wiggle room.
No wiggle room. This emphasizes the absolute necessity of having a comprehensive agritourism-specific insurance policy in place before you welcome a single visitor. Without it, you're exposing your entire operation, your core dairy business included, to immense and potentially catastrophic financial risk.
Okay. Comprehensive insurance. Non-negotiable. What else?
Then, labor capacity. Here, a score of 7 or higher is required. This indicates you have, or can realistically dedicate, staff specifically for visitor management during events.
Dedicated staff keeps coming up.
It's critical. This isn't just piling extra work onto your existing farm team who are already busy. It's a distinct, specialized role. It needs its own dedicated human resources to ensure a quality visitor experience and, again, maintain safety protocols.
Right. Someone focused on the visitors. Makes sense. 2 more.
2 more. Financial reserves. You need a score of 6 or higher here. This means you have at least 12 months of projected operating expenses set aside specifically for the agritourism startup phase.
A year's buffer.
Exactly. You need that buffer to weather those initial months, cover unexpected costs that will pop up, and invest properly in marketing without straining your core dairy business cash flow.
Okay. And the last one.
The last one is family commitment. This needs an 8 or higher. It means that all key stakeholders in your family and your operation must enthusiastically support having the public on the farm.
Enthusiastically, not just tolerating it.
Enthusiastically. If even one key person isn't genuinely on board, if they resent the visitors or the extra work, it can create internal friction and, frankly, sabotage your best efforts from within. This truly needs to be a united family venture for it to work smoothly long term.
That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you go through this checklist, you score yourself honestly. What do the scores mean?
Right. So once you've done that honest self-scoring, the framework provides a pretty clear analysis. If you score between 50 and 60 points total,
50 to 60.
congratulations, you are considered a strong candidate for agritourism development. You've got the key pieces largely in place.
Okay, good starting point. What if you're lower?
If you're between 40 and 49 points, it means you have some significant deficiencies, things that absolutely need to be addressed and strengthened before you proceed with any major investment. Maybe it's location, maybe insurance, maybe labor.
So fix the weak spots first.
Exactly. And if you score below 40 points,
Below 40.
the advice is clear and pragmatic. Focus on optimizing your core dairy operations first. Build that solid foundation. Get your main business humming before you consider diversifying into something like agritourism.
Okay, that's a really useful framework, a reality check before you jump in.
Precisely.
Okay, now let's shift our perspective a bit. Let's talk about how your existing production excellence, something dairy farmers work on every single day, actually makes you potentially perfect for agritourism.
Yeah, this is a great way to look at it.
The Bullvine article suggests thinking of it like optimizing your herd's genetic merit for profitability beyond just the milk check.
Mm-hmm. Like TPI for tourism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like you select bulls with superior total performance index, or TPI, scores to improve future generations and milk components. Things like patriotic displays or well-run farm tours leverage your existing assets, your cows, your barns, your land. They generate new revenue streams without needing additional feed costs or complex breeding decisions. It's about getting more value out of what you already have, what you're already doing well.
It's a brilliant way to frame it, really. And your current production benchmarks, just the state of modern dairy farming, already position you perfectly for this opportunity.
How so?
Well, think about the scale. U.S. dairy herds now average, 9.365 million head nationally?
Huge number.
And individual operations, on average, are running at 377 cows. You're operating at a scale that provides truly impressive visual impact for visitors.
People like seeing lots of cows.
They do. Visitors are often captivated by the sheer number of animals, the organized rhythm of a working farm. And yet you're still often able to maintain that authentic family farm feel that people crave. It's a powerful balance, impressive scale, genuine authenticity. It draws people in.
And what's really fascinating and maybe underappreciated is the technology story you already have on your farm, whether you fully realize it or not.
Yeah, the tech side is huge.
Modern dairy operations already demonstrate incredible technological sophistication that absolutely captivates consumers. We looked into this for the article, and the global milking robot market alone reached $2.5 billion in 2025.
Billion again.
Billion again. And it's projected to grow at a healthy 6.4% compound annual growth rate to $4.66 billion by 2035. That's massive growth.
And it's relevant right now.
It is, because approximately 5% of U.S. dairy operations, that's around 1,000 farms, mostly concentrated in the Midwest and Northeast, already utilize robotic milking systems.
So it's not science fiction, it's here.
Exactly. And whether you're running robots or a state-of-the-art traditional parlor, the technology behind your operation becomes a powerful marketing tool in itself. People are genuinely curious. They want to see how it all works. How do you get milk out of 300 cows efficiently?
Absolutely. And beyond the visible technology, your basic milk quality metrics, the stuff you track every day, tell a compelling story of American agricultural excellence.
Like SEC.
Exactly. The national average somatic cell count is holding steady at a remarkably low 181,000 cells per milliliter. That's a huge testament to herd health and hygiene.
World class, really.
It is. And then you have test day average milk yield rising to an impressive 83.1 pounds per cow. Combine that with a robust fat percentage, averaging up to 4.24%. Your operation, statistically, represents the pinnacle of global dairy production.
We often forget how good U.S. dairy is.
We do. But these aren't just numbers for your processor or your nutritionist. They are proof points. Proof of quality, efficiency, animal welfare. And they resonate profoundly with consumers when you explain them. They show, tangibly, the care and the science that goes into every single drop of milk.
So why does all this matter for your operation, for the listener? Our analysis in the Bullvine provides a fantastic real-world example. Let's talk about Sarah. She has a 180-cow operation in Grant County, Wisconsin.
Okay, 180 cows, Midwest.
Yep. And like so many producers, Sarah initially viewed her farm purely as a milk production facility. Her focus was 100% on commodity output, maximizing pounds shipped.
Standard operating procedure for many.
Right. But then came the catalyst. Commodity prices dropped sharply back in 2022. And Sarah recognized the vulnerability of her single-stream revenue model.
That price drop hit hard.
It did. But instead of just, tightening her belt and weathering the storm, she took proactive action. She implemented a modest agritourism program. Started small.
What did she do?
Featured simple weekend farm tours. And, crucially, put up some eye-catching, patriotic round bale displays during the summer months.
The bale art again. Simple but effective.
Exactly. It was a simple yet incredibly effective diversification strategy built entirely on what she already had. Her farm, her cows, her story.
Okay, so what happened? What were the results?
The results were genuinely transformative
Sure.
and remarkably quick. Within just 18 months, her agritourism program generated an additional $45,000 in annual revenue.
$45,000 from weekend tours and bale art.
Yeah. Now, to put that in perspective for a dairy farmer, that's equivalent to shipping 500,000 pounds of milk at a $9 per hundredweight payout.
Wow, that's a significant chunk of change, especially during volatile price times.
Absolutely. But maybe even more importantly, those direct consumer relationships she built, people coming to the farm, meeting her, they led to premium pricing for her on-farm store.
The direct sales connection.
Right. Visitors were willing to pay $6.50 per gallon for her milk right there. Compare that to the $2.10 per gallon equivalent she'd get from her processor for commodity milk.
Whoa, that's more than triple the price per gallon.
It's a massive fundamental difference in profitability per gallon. That's the power of the story and the connection.
Sarah's key insight here is something we should all really take to heart.
Yeah.
She realized, and I'm quoting loosely from the article's account, we weren't just selling milk, we were selling the story of American dairy excellence.
Telling the story.
Yeah. Visitors don't just want to see cows lounging around. They want to understand how modern technology and traditional values work hand in hand, how you create the world's safest, highest quality milk supply. That understanding, that connection, it transforms a basic commodity into a premium product with a powerful narrative people value.
And this is precisely where that conventional thinking becomes truly dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Delaying agritourism development while you focus on production first. It completely ignores these accelerating market trends that are making early adoption increasingly valuable.
There's a real data-driven case for immediate action that we at the Bullvine feel pretty strongly about based on the analysis.
What does the data show?
Well, the numbers are stark. They should really alarm any operation still thinking agritourism is just optional and maybe later kind of thing.
Okay.
Recent USDA analysis reveals this fascinating and actually somewhat concerning trend. While total U.S. milk production saw a slight dip just over 0.25% in 2024.
Okay, production down slightly.
Right. But the amount of milk solids produced the valuable components like fat and protein actually increased by a significant 1.345%.
So less water, more good stuff.
Exactly. And here's the kicker. This happened even as our national herd shrank by over 500,000 cows.
Wow, producing more solids with fewer cows.
Precisely. What does that tell us? It means we're getting far more efficient, producing more components from less feed and fewer animals. Which is great in one way, but
it creates a dangerous competitive dynamic in the commodity markets.
you got it. The industry can now meet increased demand for milk solids more quickly and efficiently than ever before. And that puts significant downward pressure on commodity prices for those components.
At the same time, input costs are rising.
Exactly. It's the classic squeeze. Operations that remain purely commodity-focused are essentially competing in a brutal race to the bottom with increasingly efficient competitors, both domestically and globally. And that's a race that's incredibly hard to win long-term.
So what's the real alternative here, according to the analysis?
The real alternative, as the peer-reviewed research consistently demonstrates, and as the Bullvine article argues, is embracing agritourism as a genuine growth market with those positive profitability associations we talked about.
A growth market, unlike maybe commodity milk right now.
Right. Unlike milk production, where you're essentially competing against every other dairy farm in your federal milk marketing order, agritourism allows you to serve highly localized and regional markets.
It's your own backyard, basically.
Exactly. In these markets, your specific location, your unique family story, your specific agricultural practices, they create distinct competitive advantages that are nearly impossible for some farm miles away or even across the country to replicate. It's about building a loyal, local customer base that values your story as much as your product.
Okay, that makes sense. Building a local moat, almost.
A good way to put it.
So, if you're considering this, understanding the regional variations in agritourism implementation costs is absolutely crucial. You need accurate ROI projections, right?
Absolutely critical. And our analysis at the Bullvine, drawing on various data sources, has broken this down with some really helpful ballpark numbers.
Okay, let's hear them. What about the Northeast?
All right. For the Northeast, basic infrastructure costs, think parking, paths, maybe basic restrooms, can range from $15,000 to $25,000. Labor costs there tend to be higher, maybe 1.3 times the national average. Insurance premiums typically run between $2,000 and $4,000 annually.
Okay, higher costs. What's the advantage?
Their clear marketing advantage is the sheer high population density right on their doorstep. Lots of potential customers nearby.
Got it. Midwest.
In the Midwest, basic infrastructure costs are generally lower, maybe $10,000 to $18,000. Labor costs are right around the national average, so a 1.0 factor. Insurance premiums might be $1,200 to $2,500.
Lower costs. And the advantage.
Their advantage is often that rich agricultural heritage tourism market. People in the Midwest are often already eager to connect with farming traditions. It's part of the culture.
Makes sense. Southeast.
Moving to the Southeast, you're looking at basic infrastructure costs, maybe $12,000 to $20,000. Labor costs can be slightly lower, maybe 0.9 times the national average. Insurance premiums, $1,500 to $3,000.
And their big advantage.
Year-round season, potentially. That's huge for consistent revenue flow, not just a summer thing.
Good point. Okay, West Coast. Bound to be higher costs.
Yeah, generally. The West Coast, basic infrastructure costs can be the highest, maybe $20,000 to $35,000. Labor costs are definitely higher, maybe 1.5 times the national average. Insurance premiums, $2,500 to $5,000.
Ouch. So what's the upside?
The marketing advantage there is often the potential for significant premium pricing. Consumers may be more willing to pay top dollar for unique experiences and high-quality local products, which can significantly offset those higher upfront and ongoing costs.
Okay, so regional differences are key for budgeting and expectations.
Absolutely. And the timing here couldn't be more critical, going back to that first mover idea.
Why now?
Because every single month you delay seriously exploring agritourism development, potential competitors in your own region could be establishing those vital community relationships and building that local brand recognition.
Getting locked in.
Exactly. Once those relationships are entrenched, they become incredibly difficult, maybe even impossible, for a latecomer to replicate. This is very much a market where having a first-mover advantage matters. Getting in early allows you to kind of define the local farm experience and capture that initial wave of interest.
Don't wait too long if you're interested.
That's the message.
Now, let's challenge another piece of conventional wisdom.
Yeah.
This one, frankly, needs dismantling, I think. It's the belief that labor shortages make agritourism impossible. You know, we just don't have enough people to handle visitors argument.
Hear that one a lot.
We do. But this thinking, as the bovine analysis shows, really reflects a fundamental misunderstanding of how modern technology actually enables rather than competes with these community engagement activities.
Exactly. It flips the script. Research published in the Journal of Dairy Science has definitively demonstrated that robotic milking systems, just as one example, can reduce overall labor costs by over 21%.
21% reduction.
While simultaneously improving milk quality and production efficiency through more consistent voluntary milking schedules.
Right. Better for cows, less labor.
Yeah. But the key insight most operations miss is this. Technology investments that reduce labor requirements for those core production activities like milking actually free up your existing human resources. Often, that's family members.
Frees up people.
Frees up people for higher value activities like customer interaction and experience management. When the robotic systems are handling the routine milking tasks 24/7, your farm family can actually focus on those community engagement activities that directly generate that premium revenue and build those lasting relationships.
That's a really important reframing. Tech enables people to do different, potentially higher value things.
Precisely.
And we've got a fantastic success story from the bovine files that illustrates this perfectly. Let's talk about Mike Johnson's 350 cow operation up in Steele County, Minnesota.
Okay, 350 cows, robots in Minnesota.
Yep. Back in 2021, Mike invested $280,000 in a robotic milking system. His primary motivation, addressing his labor shortage challenges. Standard reason.
Makes sense.
But the unexpected benefit, and this is where it gets really interesting for our discussion, was that the automation freed up 4 to 5 hours daily for his family members.
4 to 5 hours a day, that's significant.
It is. And what did they do with that time? They developed educational programs and visitor experiences centered around the technology and their farm practices. So the robots weren't just milking cows. They were actively enabling these new revenue streams.
That's fascinating. So what were the financial outcomes? Did it pay off?
The financial outcomes for Mike's operation after just 3 years are incredibly compelling. Milk production increased by 12%.
12% increase. Wow.
Improved cow comfort, more frequent stress-free voluntary milking, standard robot benefits. But also, labor costs decreased by 18%, even with broader wage inflation happening.
Lower labor costs, more milk. Okay.
And here's the kicker. His agritourism revenue reached a substantial $75,000 annually, mainly through these technology-focused farm tours. And his direct sales of premium dairy products right there on the farm generated an additional $35,000 annually.
75 plus 35, that's $110,000 in new diversified revenue, on top of more milk and lower labor costs.
Exactly. It's a home run.
Wow.
And Mike's strategic insight here, his takeaway, is powerful. It's a real lesson for all of us. He said something like, the robot didn't replace our family values. It amplified them.
Amplified them. How?
We can now spend more time with visitors, explaining how technology and traditional stewardship work together to produce exceptional milk while caring for our animals and the environment. It fundamentally changed their business model and deepened their connection to the community.
That's a fantastic story. Tech as an enabler, not just a cost saver.
Precisely. And this leads us directly into another opportunity. The bovine article highlights the component premium opportunity that current market conditions, especially looking into 2025, create.
Right. Getting paid for quality.
Exactly. There are unprecedented opportunities for operations producing superior milk components, fat and protein. But critically, only for farms that understand how to market this excellence beyond the traditional commodity channels. It's about recognizing and capturing the value in every fraction of a percentage point.
Yeah, getting that component check isn't always straightforward.
It isn't. Right now, national averages show butterfat at a pretty robust 4.24% and protein content at 3.29%. Our analysis at the Bovine points out that these component-focused production strategies, they yield both potential premium milk payments and significant agritourism marketing advantages.
Two birds, one stone.
Kind of. The USDA forecasts, remember, indicate that dairy farm businesses will see that 25% higher average net cash farm income in 2025. And operations producing superior components are expected to significantly outperform the commodity-grade producers within that average.
Makes sense. But how do you bridge that gap? How do you go from producing high components in the tank to actually getting paid more for them, especially by consumers through agritourism?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And it's the crucial point most operations overlook. And it's exactly where agritourism shines, according to the analysis.
Okay.
Superior component production only generates premium revenue if you can effectively demonstrate and market that superiority directly to end consumers. Agritourism provides the perfect platform.
How?
It allows you to educate visitors about the science behind premium milk production. You can show them the feed, explain the genetics, maybe even show component test results. This simultaneously justifies higher prices for your direct sales products, your milk, your cheese, your ice cream.
Seeing is believing.
Exactly. When visitors observe your precision feeding systems, which you explain are specifically designed to target optimal component levels, when they learn how your genetics program produces milk that's superior for cheese making, they're witnessing that agricultural excellence firsthand.
Right. It connects the dots for them.
It connects the dots. And that commands premium pricing. It transforms what would otherwise be just commodity milk into branded products with clear provenance and authentic stories they can connect with because they just saw it happen.
Makes perfect sense. Connect the farm practice to the product quality in the consumer's mind.
Got it. Okay, let's talk numbers then, because at the end of the day, that's what truly moves the needle for a dairy operation, right?
It always comes back to the numbers.
Our analysis provides some truly verified revenue projections. These based on USDA Economic Research Service data and extensive peer-reviewed agritourism profitability research cited in the Bovine article. These aren't just guesses, they're based on solid, actionable data.
Good. What are the assumptions?
The assumptions are pretty standard.
Yeah.
An average production of 24,000 pounds per cow annually, and using that current milk price of $21 per hundredweight from the April 2025 USDA data we mentioned earlier.
Okay, 24,000 pounds, 21 milk. Got it.
So for a 100-cow operation, their base milk revenue would be around $504,000. The agritourism potential, based on the research, is estimated between $25,000 and $75,000 annually.
25K to 75K extra on a 100-cow farm?
Yep, that's a 5.0% to almost 15% increase in combined revenue. Now, there's about a plus or minus 20% regional variation baked into that range, depending on your specific market, location, etc.
Okay. What about the average U.S. farm size, 377 cows?
Right. For the 377 cow operation, the current U.S. average, their base milk revenue is roughly $1,900,440K. The agritourism potential jumps significantly here to between $75,000 and $200,000 annually.
75K to 200 towers. That's serious money.
It is. That's a 3.9% to 10.5% increase over their milk revenue, again with about a plus or minus 15% regional variation.
Okay. And bigger herds, say 500 cows.
Good question. For a 500-cow operation, base milk revenue is around $2,520,000. The agritourism potential here is truly substantial, $100,000 to $300,000 per year.
Wow. Up to $300,000.
Yeah, that represents a 4.0% to almost 12% increase in combined revenue, with maybe a plus or minus 12% regional variation.
Okay, so the potential scales up with the operation size generally.
It seems to. And these projections really emphasize those research-validated profitability factors we discussed earlier. Operator experience, the scale of the farm itself, whether you have on-farm sales and the specific types of events and entertainment you choose to offer. It's not just about getting visitors, it's about effectively monetizing that engagement.
Right. But with these exciting revenue projections comes a critical success factor that absolutely cannot be overlooked.
Let me guess. Cash flow.
Bingo. Cash flow management. This is paramount, especially given the seasonal nature of most visitor revenue and the inevitable need for some upfront infrastructure investments.
Yeah, tourism income isn't usually spread evenly through the year like a milk check.
Exactly. And dairy farms have, as we all know too well, experienced significant cash flow variations since 2022, with input costs rising sharply while milk prices fluctuate unpredictably. Ignoring cash flow management can completely derail even the most promising agritourism venture before it gets off the ground.
So what are the essential cash flow considerations the Bullvine analysis outlines for agritourism development?
Okay, number one. Be acutely aware of seasonal revenue patterns. Most agritourism revenue, particularly in northern climates, concentrates heavily in that May to October window.
Summer and fall harvest season.
Right, which means you need careful financial planning to bridge those slower off-season periods when visitor numbers might drop significantly, but you still have costs.
Plan for the downtime.
Okay.
Second, regarding infrastructure investment timing. Don't try to do everything all at once in year one. Spread major investments, paving, new buildings, whatever, across multiple years if possible, to avoid severe cash flow strain during those development phases. Think of it like phased implementation, like developing new pastures over time, not all at once.
Smart. Phase it in. What else?
Third, insurance and liability costs. Well, we talked about the necessity of insurance. You must factor those ongoing premiums, typically running $1,000 to $3,000 annually for mid-scale operations, maybe more for larger ones, into your monthly cash flow projections right from the outset. Budget for it every month.
Every month. This isn't an optional expense. It's a non-negotiable cost of doing business in this space.
Got it. And fourth.
Fourth, marketing investment requirements. Our research, and the Bullvine piece concurs, suggests budgeting about 5 to 10% of your projected agritourism revenue, specifically for promotional activities and customer acquisition.
You have to spend money to make money.
You do. This isn't an expense in the traditional sense. It's a vital investment in actually drawing visitors to your farm and building that brand recognition you need to succeed. You have to let people know you exist and why they should come.
Okay, manage the seasonality, phase investments, budget for insurance, and invest in marketing. Key cash flow points.
Critical ones.
Now, let's talk about putting this into action. Let's talk about your July 4th playbook. This is where, as they say, the rubber meets the road, where strategy turns into actual action.
Making it happen.
Independence Day, as our research for the Bullvine highlights, perfectly aligns with a few key things. Often it's near your peak component production season. Your farm generally looks good, and the facilities are likely in optimal presentation mode.
Yeah, summer's a good time on the farm usually.
Right. Research published in the Journal of Dairy Science even demonstrates these annual rhythms where milk fat concentration naturally varies seasonally, often peaking in warmer months. And of course, the summer months generally provide ideal weather conditions for visitor activities, outdoor attractions, all while you maintain your core production excellence. It's kind of a perfect storm of opportunity, isn't it?
It really is. And this brings us back to a simple yet surprisingly powerful marketing tool we keep mentioning. The patriotic display ROI.
The round bale art.
The round bale art.
Yeah.
Or flags or whatever. It represents the agricultural equivalent of a precision agriculture investment in a way. It has incredibly modest upfront cost, maybe just $50 to $100 in materials, paint, etc. Yet it generates potentially significant long-term returns through increased brand recognition and visitor attraction. It gets people talking, it gets shared on social media.
And unlike feed or labor costs that are daily recurring expenses.
Exactly. These patriotic displays provide season-long marketing value. They build community goodwill that benefits your operation year-round. They can literally become local landmarks that people look forward to seeing.
Yeah, I could see that. The economics seem pretty straightforward and easily verifiable, too. Materials for patriotic round bale displays, like you said, maybe $50 to $100.
Peanuts, really, in the grand scheme.
But the return on investment extends far beyond any direct revenue you might tie to it. When you combine these visible displays with some organic social media promotion, posting pictures, maybe running a little contest, and active community engagement.
It creates buzz.
It creates a buzz that paid advertising often just cannot replicate. It's authentic, it's local, it grabs attention, and it tells a simple story about your farm's values and your connection to the community. It says, we're proud to be here.
Well said. Now, in terms of implementation timeline for something like a July 4th event, our analysis suggests designing the agritourism experience much like you formulate a total mixed ration, or TMR.
Balancing components for optimal results.
Precisely. You're balancing multiple components to achieve the best outcome for the visitor and for you. Successful July 4th events, for instance, should thoughtfully integrate educational content. Maybe that's about 30% of the experience.
Okay, 30% learning.
Right. With entertainment value, fun stuff, maybe games or music making up about 40%. And then commercial opportunities like direct sales of milk, cheese, ice cream, merchandise comprising the remaining 30%. All while, of course, maintaining your core production efficiency in the background. It's a precise blend for success.
Okay, 30 education, 40 entertainment, 30 commercial. A good recipe. What kind of educational components should farms highlight? Things they already do.
Absolutely, things they already excel at. The educational components you should highlight are plentiful in a modern dairy, showcasing your existing excellence. Think about live demonstrations of modern milking technology, whether it's robots or a modern parlor, and explaining your stringent animal welfare protocols.
Show them the tech. Show them the cow care.
Exactly. Show visitors your component testing and quality assurance processes that likely exceed industry standards. Explain how you use genetic selection for production traits and superior milk composition. You can even touch on mastitis prevention and detection technologies, showing how you ensure milk quality and safety.
Right. These aren't just routine farm practices. These are compelling stories that demonstrate your commitment to quality, science, and animal care. Stuff consumers are really interested in.
They really are. And a fantastic example of this kind of technology-driven agritourism is the Kurtz family's 130 cow operation down in Chester County, Pennsylvania.
Okay, 130 cows, smaller scale, East Coast.
Yep. And this mid-sized farm beautifully demonstrates how technology can truly enable dual benefits, production efficiency, and visitor engagement. Their investment in robotic milking systems directly freed up family labor. Sound familiar?
Like Mike in Minnesota.
Exactly. Which they then channeled into developing conservation projects on their land and enhancing their visitor education programs. Their holistic efforts actually earned them the prestigious 2024 Pennsylvania Distinguished Dairy Producer Award, a real testament to their innovative approach.
Wow. So what are their key performance metrics? How does it play out on their farm?
Well, their metrics are impressive and really showcase the synergy. The robotic milking system enabled them to achieve 100% no-till farming on their 275 acres, which significantly improves soil health, a great story for visitors.
Okay, conservation angle.
Big time. They implement cover crops across their entire operation, another fantastic live demonstration for visitors interested in sustainable practices. They also have stream bank fencing and riparian buffers installed, directly showcasing environmental stewardship in action.
Things people care about.
Absolutely. And a bonus for them, they happen to be located on a high-traffic road, so their farm provides natural marketing visibility. It draws people in who are just curious about what's happening on a modern, progressive dairy farm.
So what about the financial outcomes for the Kurtz family? Did the article share specifics?
The case study in the Bullvine didn't disclose specific agritourism revenue figures for them, but it revealed a clear principle.
Yeah.
The family explicitly reports that their technology investment enabled conservation practices that both reduce their input costs and create compelling visitor experiences.
So tech pays for itself in multiple ways.
Exactly. Their operation serves as a living demonstration that modern efficiency and environmental stewardship are not competing priorities. They can, and indeed should, reinforce each other for truly sustainable success, both financially and environmentally across generations.
That's a powerful message. Efficiency and stewardship hand in hand.
It is.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly and talk about the future of dairy. Because technology integration, as we've seen in these examples, it's truly the next generation competitive advantage, isn't it?
It really is.
Modern dairy technology doesn't just create efficiency and reduce labor costs. As we've discussed, it creates incredibly compelling visitor experiences that can justify premium pricing, while also demonstrating American agricultural leadership on a global scale.
Yeah.
It's really about showcasing your innovation.
Yeah, think about that precision agriculture market overall. It's projected to grow from $2.5 billion in 2025 to a staggering $4.66 billion by 2035.
Huge growth.
That represents the widespread adoption of technologies that truly fascinate consumers and fundamentally differentiate American agriculture globally. Your GPS-guided tractors, your automated TMR mixers, your activity monitoring systems on the cows.
Stuff we might take for granted now.
Right. But they tell a powerful story of innovation that visitors simply cannot experience at a theme park or a traditional museum. Thinking about this technology integration is like optimizing your herd's metabolizable energy levels in their rations.
How so?
Just as you fine-tune feed components for superior milk production and efficiency, these technologies create a synergistic effect. They not only boost your farm's bottom line through efficiency, but they also provide incredibly rich educational content that justifies premium pricing for your agritourism experiences and products. Every input works together for a better outcome.
Okay, leveraging tech for both efficiency and storytelling. Makes sense. Now, here's where the bovine article gets really interesting, maybe a bit futuristic for some.
Yeah.
The blockchain revolution.
Blockchain in dairy.
Yeah. Well, most dairy operations might view blockchain technology as something, way too complex or only for giant corporations.
Bitcoin for cows.
Sort of. But forward-thinking farms are apparently discovering its immense power to create unprecedented transparency. And that transparency, believe it or not, can command premium pricing.
How does that work?
Well, research cited in the article clearly demonstrates that blockchain technology in dairy supply chains enables things like real-time traceability. It fosters deep consumer confidence because the data is theoretically immutable. And this creates the exact type of authentic storytelling that agritourism visitors who are looking for connection and trust value most.
Okay, so it builds trust through verifiable data. But how does this translate into practical application for a regular dairy farm thinking about tourism?
It's potentially a game changer for building that trust. Think about the transformative example mentioned from some Indian dairy company case studies. Blockchain implementation allowed these companies to pinpoint sources of milk adulteration, track the affected batches, and remove contaminated products from the supply chain within hours instead of days or weeks.
Wow, rapid traceability.
Exactly. Now, imagine applying that concept to your agritourism operation. Visitors could potentially scan a QR code on a bottle of milk or a block of cheese they buy at your farm store.
Then see what?
And instantly access the complete production history. Which cows it came from, maybe even recent health data, component tests, you name it.
Seriously, that detailed.
Potentially, yes. Think about the practical blockchain applications outlined. Product provenance tracking visitors scan codes, see exactly which cows produce their milk, cheese, or ice cream. Imagine that connection.
That's powerful.
Quality assurance demonstration, real-time access to somatic cell counts, component levels, safety testing results for that specific batch. Environmental impact verification, transparent documentation of your sustainability practices, maybe even carbon footprint data linked to that product, and supply chain transparency, complete visibility from feed sourcing all the way through processing and packaging if you do on-farm processing.
That level of transparency is, well, it's almost unheard of. It builds incredible trust and engagement, especially in a consumer landscape that's increasingly hungry for authenticity and proof.
Exactly. It answers all the "where does my food come from?" questions instantly and verifiably.
Beyond blockchain, even existing tech matters. That global dairy processing equipment market, valued at $10.57 billion in 2025, is experiencing robust growth. Why? Driven by rising consumer demand for transparency and quality. So the technological sophistication in your operation, even if it's just a modern milking parlor or cooling system, offers compelling educational content for visitors. It demonstrates the science behind premium dairy production and helps justify that higher price point.
Okay, so there are different levels of tech integration. The bovine analysis actually provides a helpful technology integration decision framework table to help farms prioritize investments based on visitor value, cost, ROI, and expertise needed.
Oh, that's useful. Can you break that down?
Sure. For robotic milking, the framework rates visitor education value as very high. Implementation cost is steep, $250,000, $300,000. ROI timeline is maybe 18, 24 months, and it requires moderate expertise to manage and explain.
Okay. High impact, high cost.
Right. Activity monitoring systems like collars or tags have high visitor value. People find tracking cow health fascinating. Cost is much lower, $150, $300 per cow. ROI is quick, 6-12 months, and it requires low expertise to operate and explain basic alerts.
Good ROI on activity monitors for education, too.
Seems so. Blockchain traceability is rated high for visitor value, but the cost is estimated at $50,000 ROI 12-18 months, and it requires high expertise to set up and manage properly.
Blockchain is powerful but complex.
Yep. Precision feeding systems, like TMR mixers with software, have moderate visitor value, a bit harder to demonstrate dynamically. Cost $75,000, $150,000 ROI 8-14 months. moderate expertise.
Okay, and environmental tech.
Environmental monitoring, like manure management tech or water sensors, also has moderate visitor value, costs $25,000, $75,000, ROI 12-24 months, and low expertise needed.
So that framework gives a good snapshot of the trade-offs for different tech investments regarding their agritourism potential.
Exactly. Helps you think strategically about where to invest for dual benefits.
And that automation advantage in visitor education is particularly noteworthy with the robotic milking systems, as the framework highlighted. They really do provide perfect demonstration opportunities for explaining modern dairy tech in action.
Self-guided tours almost.
Pretty much. With robotic systems now on about 1,000 U.S. farms representing 5% of operations, these installations showcase American agricultural innovation brilliantly, often requiring minimal staff supervision during visitor tours. They are a constant self-guided marvel.
And we know the production benefits. Research consistently shows farms using robots report up to 15% higher milk yields, while also improving animal welfare through voluntary milking schedules that reduce stress and let cows follow their natural behavioral patterns.
Which creates a really powerful marketing message for your agritourism venture, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You can genuinely say, American dairy operations combine traditional agricultural values and stewardship with cutting-edge technology to produce the world's highest quality milk, all while maintaining superior animal welfare standards that exceed global benchmarks. That's a story worth telling and, more importantly, worth showing people.
Yeah, seeing the cows choose to be milked by the robot is pretty compelling.
It really is. Now, we can also learn from international perspectives. While American dairy operations definitely possess unique advantages, examining international agritourism models offers valuable insights that we can potentially adapt.
Like Europe.
Exactly. European dairy regions, particularly places like Austria and Switzerland, have successfully integrated dairy farming with tourism for decades. They've created models worth looking at, even if we adapt them to American conditions.
What do they do well?
Well, in Austria's Tyrol region, for example, dairy farming accounts for a remarkable 58% of the total agricultural production value. And agritourism provides crucial supplemental income for those smaller family operations, competing against larger industrial producers elsewhere.
So it's vital for their survival.
It often is. The Austrian model emphasizes really authentic farm experiences, premium product sales right on the farm, and strong educational programming that commands significant price premiums. They truly sell the story, the heritage, and the connection to the land.
So what are the key success factors from that model that might be transferable to American operations, according to the Bullvine analysis?
Good question. The analysis highlights a few things. One, the seamless integration of traditional farming practices with modern efficiency technologies showing both heritage and progress. Two, a strong emphasis on family heritage and generational knowledge transfer stories resonate deeply with visitors.
People love family farm stories.
They do. Three, premium pricing for farm-produced products sold directly to visitors, building on that personal connection and perceived quality. And four, robust seasonal programming that maintains visitor interest throughout the entire year, not just summer.
Okay, those make sense. But what about the critical differences? Where do American farms potentially have an edge?
That's interesting too. The analysis points out that American operations often have inherent scale advantages. Our farms are often larger, allowing for more impressive technological demonstrations like showcasing an entire robotic milking barn, not just one or two units.
Right, scale matters for visual impact.
Our general infrastructure roads, parking accessibility is often better suited for accommodating larger visitor groups comfortably and safely. Advanced automation technologies like robotic milking are actually not as widely adopted yet in many smaller European operations. And arguably, we have a stronger cultural tradition of agricultural innovation and rapid technology adoption, which plays right into that consumer fascination with modern farming we talked about.
So we have some built-in advantages to leverage. What about comparing to other major dairy regions, like New Zealand?
Yeah, a comparative analysis with New Zealand also highlights our potential strengths in agritourism. Despite its global reputation for efficient grass-fed production, New Zealand's dairy industry has relatively limited agritourism development.
Why is that?
Largely due to two things. Many farms are in quite remote locations, far from population centers, and they have a singular historical focus on maximizing volume for export markets. There's less infrastructure and incentive for direct consumer interaction.
So they're focused outward, not inward towards local tourism.
Generally, yes. And this scenario creates a significant opportunity for American operations to capture tourism demand, both domestic and potentially international, that competitors like New Zealand simply cannot easily serve due to their geographical and market structure limitations.
Interesting. So what are our specific competitive advantages versus somewhere like NZ?
The analysis lists several. Our proximity to major population centers enables convenient day trip and weekend tourism, huge advantage. We have incredibly diverse agricultural systems across the U.S., allowing us to showcase many different approaches to dairy production, feeding, and even crop rotation.
More variety to show.
We often have excellent integration of crop and livestock operations on the same farm, which provides comprehensive agricultural education opportunities that visitors find really fascinating, seeing the whole cycle. And as we mentioned, our technology adoption rates often exceed most international competitors, giving us a unique, high-tech story to tell alongside the traditional one.
Okay, so good potential compared globally. Now let's switch back to the practicalities. Let's talk about something just as crucial as finding visitors. Risk management.
Sure.
Hugely important, often overlooked until it's too late.
Right. Protecting both your existing milk revenue streams and your new agritourism revenue streams is absolutely vital. The Bullvine analysis frames risk management for agritourism, much like transition period management in your herd.
How so?
Careful monitoring and rapid response prevent small issues, whether it's a safety concern or a biosecurity slip-up, from escalating into major problems that can jeopardize your entire operation. Successful operations implement comprehensive protocols protecting both milk production and visitor safety as two sides of the same essential coin.
Yeah, you can't sacrifice one for the other. And a major component of this, obviously, is insurance and liability considerations. We keep coming back to it.
Because it's critical. Agritourism liability insurance, as the article estimates, typically costs between $1,000 and $3,000 annually for mid-scale operations, maybe more for larger ones.
Which sounds like a lot, maybe?
Maybe. But put it in perspective. For a 377 cow farm, that represents less than 0.15%. That's 0.15% of your gross milk revenue.
Tiny fraction.
It's a tiny fraction. This is not an expense you cut. This is an essential investment. It provides crucial protection while simultaneously enabling revenue diversification that fundamentally reduces your overall business risk by not having all your eggs in the commodity basket.
That's a good way to think about it. Insurance enables diversification, which reduces risk.
Exactly. University research on agritourism development consistently emphasizes that proper insurance coverage and robust safety protocols are absolutely essential for sustainable visitor programs. The risk-to-reward ratio heavily favors farms that implement structured agritourism activities with these protections firmly in place.
Okay. What about protecting the core business? Production continuity during visitor activities. How do you manage that?
Good question. You absolutely must design visitor programs like you manage feed delivery schedules or milking times. Your essential daily operations need to continue without disruption, while thoughtfully accommodating the additional activity of visitors.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Maybe. But successful farms establish very clear protocols. They physically separate visitor areas from active production zones, like milking parlors during milking or feed alleys during feeding, all while maintaining high biosecurity standards across the board.
Clear zones and clear rules.
Right. The key insight here is that visitor programs that complement, rather than interfere with, your production schedules create win-win scenarios. Your guests get to observe authentic agricultural operations happening in their natural state, which is what they want to see, and your farm maintains its efficiency and high animal welfare standards without compromise.
Okay. And finally, under risk management, biosecurity protocol integration. Huge topic, especially after the Connecticut example.
Absolutely critical. Research from the Journal of Dairy Science strongly emphasizes that things like mastitis prevention, calf health, overall herd biosecurity require comprehensive measures, and these measures can and must be effectively integrated with your visitor management systems.
How do you do that practically?
Well, modern agritourism operations implement robust protocols that protect herd health, while simultaneously educating visitors about why these protocols exist, disease prevention, food safety. It builds understanding and compliance.
So what are the best practices?
Things like designated visitor pathways that prevent cross-contamination between potentially dirty visitor areas and clean production zones.
Yep.
Strategically placed hand sanitizing stations and hand washing stations for both visitor convenience and real biosecurity compliance.
Hand washing again.
Always. Educational signage that clearly explains the importance of biosecurity and modern food safety protocols, why they can't touch certain things, why they need clean shoes, etc. And definitely restricted access to highly sensitive areas, like maternity pens, hospital groups, feed storage areas, but always with clear, understandable explanations to visitors about why these protective measures are absolutely necessary. That transparency builds trust and reinforces your commitment to animal health and milk quality.
Makes sense. Protect the animals, protect the visitors, educate everyone.
That's the goal. All right, we've covered a lot of ground. The opportunity, the risks, the strategies, the tech. Now it's time for your July 4th action plan, your implementation roadmap.
Getting started.
Getting started. Because the difference between farms that generate substantial agritourism revenue and those that just talk about it, it isn't necessarily size or location or even having massive capital. Often, it's about taking focused action with clear implementation timelines.
Just doing something.
Just doing something. And with July 4th, 2025, rapidly approaching, you have a perfect immediate opportunity to begin building those crucial community connections and starting those potential revenue streams that will fundamentally strengthen your operations' financial resilience long term.
Okay, so what should farms do, like, this week? Immediate assessment.
Good question. The Bullvine article suggests, this week, drive past your own operation as if you were a first-time visitor. Seriously, try to see it with fresh eyes. What impression does it create from the road? Are your farm's values visible? Does your facility tell a story about American agricultural excellence, or does it just look like, well, a production facility?
Be objective, maybe take pictures.
Take pictures. Document everything with photos and an honest assessment of your current community visibility. Then, maybe contact your local USDA NAS office. Understand their agritourism data collection and reporting requirements. Why? Because many farms significantly underreport their activities, and they often miss out on industry recognition and, importantly, crucial grant funding opportunities because they're not officially counted.
Good tip. Know the reporting rules. And insurance.
And immediately research your insurance requirements. We keep saying it. Contact your current insurance carrier now to understand liability coverage for basic farm tours, potential events, direct sales activities. This conversation absolutely must occur before July 4th, as getting quotes and modifying policies often requires lead time. Don't wait until July 3rd.
Okay, assess visibility, check NAS reporting, call insurance agent, got it. What about for the actual July 4th weekend?
For your July 4th weekend strategy, the advice is start simple but impactful. Create those patriotic displays we talked about. Showcase your values while highlighting your production excellence. Even basic round bale art, costing less than $100, can generate significant community engagement and social media visibility just by being out front.
Easy win. What else?
Plan some simple farm tours. Maybe just for friends, neighbors, or a few invited families to start. Highlight your technology adoption. Show off the robots, the monitors, the parlor tech. Explain your animal welfare practices. Focus on that unique educational content that visitors cannot experience anywhere else. Things like robotic milking demos, maybe showing your feed quality testing process, or explaining component analysis and why American milk commands premium prices globally.
Show them what makes your farm special. And sales.
And definitely establish some direct sales opportunities, even if small, during your July 4th activities. Remember, Sarah, when visitors see your animals, meet your family, and truly understand your production practices firsthand, they're much more willing to pay premium prices for products with clear provenance and authentic stories they've just witnessed. Sell some milk, some cheese, maybe even just some branded hats or t-shirts. Start somewhere.
Okay, simple displays, simple tours focused on unique tech welfare, simple sales. Good start for the holiday. What about after July 4th? Planning for the fall.
Right. Moving into fall implementation planning, that's when you can evaluate more permanent infrastructure improvements that support both production efficiency and visitor experiences long term. Consider investments like dedicated visitor viewing areas, safer, better views, maybe more engaging permanent educational displays, or even formal retail spaces that could serve dual purposes, like an on-farm store or pickup point.
Thinking bigger picture. Grants.
Definitely research grant opportunities that specifically support the development of agritourism. USDA programs, state programs, local economic development agencies, they continue to expand support for rural economic development and agricultural education initiatives. This often includes funding for visitor facilities, signage, marketing, and educational programming. Look into it.
Free money is good money.
It helps. And critically, use the fall to develop relationships with local schools, civic organizations like Rotary or Lions, and maybe even veteran groups. Build strong partnerships that can support your agritourism activities. These connections provide potential built-in audiences for tours and events, while demonstrating community engagement that significantly enhances your operation's reputation as a vital contributing part of the local fabric.
Build those community bridges. Makes sense. And longer term, financial planning.
Yes. For your 12-month financial planning, the article suggests structuring your agritourism investment like you plan your breeding program.
How's it?
Start with proven genetics, meaning look at successful agritourism models. Don't reinvent the wheel entirely. Implement gradually. Don't bet the farm on it overnight. And meticulously measure your results. Track visitor numbers, sales, costs before expanding significantly. Remember, the research shows operator experience and farm scale are positive predictors of profitability, suggesting that careful planning and systematic implementation yield far better results than rapid, unplanned expansion. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but the potential payoff is worth the methodical approach.
Good analogy. Build it like you build your herd. And those regional investment guidelines we discussed earlier, they fit into this planning.
Absolutely. They provide realistic targets. Just to quickly reiterate, Northeastern Ops, initial infrastructure, 15K, 25K, profitability, maybe 18, 24 months out. Advantages, high population density. Midwestern Ops, lower infrastructure, 10K, 18K, quicker profitability, 12, 18 months. Advantage is that ag heritage market.
Southern Ops. Infrastructure, 12K, $20K, profitability, 15, 20 months. Advantage is that extended visitor season. Western Ops. Higher infrastructure, 20K, 35K, longer profitability, timeline, 24, 30 months. But the advantage is that premium pricing potential to offset costs. Use those as planning benchmarks.
Okay, that's a really solid, actionable roadmap.
It aims to be. Remember that pressing reality we started this whole deep dive with? While milk prices fluctuate around $21 per hundredweight, dairy farm businesses overall are forecast to see that 25% higher average net cash farm income in 2025, reaching $743,900.
Right. There's some underlying strength there.
There is, and the smart money in dairy, based on the trends and the success stories, is clearly building additional revenue streams that aren't solely subject to the relentless volatility of the global commodity market.
The evidence really does seem overwhelming that operations combining production excellence with community engagement capture sustainable competitive advantages that pure commodity producers just cannot replicate easily.
Especially when you consider that the overall U.S. net farm income forecast, $180.1 billion, is still heavily reliant on those government disaster payments, not purely market fundamentals. Diversified revenue streams aren't just a nice-to-have, they provide the stability necessary for multi-generational farm viability and true financial independence.
And your technical capabilities, things you work hard on every day. Whether it's explaining how your 4.24% butterfat and 3.29% protein levels create superior cheese, or demonstrating how your robotic milking systems improve both efficiency and animal welfare. These tell a compelling story.
A story visitors can't experience anywhere else. Your operation showcases American agricultural leadership in ways that generate both pride and significant profit, transforming that intangible value of doing things right into tangible revenue.
And the strategic window for capturing this advantage, especially with technology, it's narrowing rapidly. Our research highlighted that the milking robot market alone is projected to grow at 6.4% annually, reaching $4.66 billion by 2035. Farms that successfully combine that technological sophistication with genuine community engagement now will capture disproportionate advantages over operations that remain purely commodity-focused. This isn't just about survival. It's about leading the next generation of profitable dairy farming.
We absolutely must reiterate that sobering lesson from Connecticut one last time. Agritourism success requires meticulous planning, comprehensive insurance, and an unwavering commitment to visitor safety and biosecurity.
Non-negotiables.
Absolutely. The farms that truly thrive in this space are those that treat agritourism just as seriously as they treat milk production, with detailed protocols, clear objectives, and continuous performance monitoring. It has to be seen as an extension of your existing business excellence, not some casual hobby you dabble in.
So the choice is yours, really. For you, the listener, this July 4th, will you continue just fighting for pennies in the volatile commodity markets? Or will you start taking steps, even small ones, to build the sustainable competitive advantages that ensure your operation's future, insulating yourself, at least partly, from those relentless market swings?
Your immediate action step to make it concrete. Before the July 4th weekend arrives, create just one simple, patriotic display that represents your farm's values and pride. Then, maybe invite just 5 local families, friends, neighbors, people you know to visit your operation. Offer them a simple, informal tour focusing on something unique you do. And document their experience, take pictures, maybe a short video for social media sharing.
Just that. One display, 5 families. Share it.
Just that. That single focused action, according to the spirit of the Bullvine analysis, will position you ahead of probably 90% of dairy operations that never even take that first crucial step towards sustainable revenue diversification.
It starts the ball.
Ball rolling.
Wow, that puts it in perspective. So thinking ahead, the most successful dairy operations of the next decade, it seems clear, will excel at both production efficiency and community engagement. They'll master both sides of the coin. Which category will your operation represent? Will you be among the innovators capturing agritourism revenue while maintaining production excellence? Or will you be among the commodity producers watching these opportunities pass by?
The choice is yours to make. And July 4th, 2025 is your perfect opportunity to begin building the resilient, diversified, and profitable future your operation truly deserves.
If this analysis has you rethinking your approach to dairy profitability, you're exactly where you need to be. The farms that thrive over the next decade won't be the ones that simply optimize production. They'll be the operations that excel at both efficiency and community engagement. Remember, every day you delay building these revenue streams, competitors in your region might be establishing the relationships and brand recognition that will be nearly impossible to replicate. For more provocative dairy industry insights, in-depth analysis, and practical strategies that challenge conventional wisdom, visit us at www.thebullvine.com. Subscribe to our newsletter, join the conversation, and discover why we're the dairy industry's most trusted source for innovative thinking. Your July 4th weekend could be the perfect time to take that first step toward transforming your operation. The choice is yours. Until next time, this is the Bullvine Podcast, where we turn industry assumptions upside down and show you the profitable path forward. Stay bold, stay profitable.